rest, no stopping. I was little, slim, but hard as a diamond. Then I became famous and...
Picture this, it's 1927, and you've just come home from an evening of dancing the Charleston. The gramophone in the parlor is still faintly playing a foxtrot as you step into your bedroom, lit by the warm amber glow of a shaded lamp. The air is scented with rosewater and powder, a fragrance that seems to settle over everything you own. You slip out of your beaded dress and into a bias-cut satin slip in the palest blush, the cool fabric gliding over your skin. Your vanity table with its glass jars and silver-backed brushes glitters softly in the lamplight. You begin your nightly ritual. 15 slow minutes of massaging cold cream into your face, in small deliberate circles, dabbing a bit of lavender water onto your pulse points, and smoothing your bob beneath a silk scarf to protect your carefully set waves. Every step is intentional, almost ceremonial. You're not just cleansing your face, you're fortifying your beauty for tomorrow. In your mind, every dab of cream is a deposit into your future allure. Now fast forward to today. Your morning begins not with soft jazz, but with a blaring iPhone alarm and a dozen app notifications clamoring for your attention. Before you've even sipped coffee, you're in motion, pulling an ice roller from your skincare fridge, running it over your jaw until it's numb, scraping your cheekbones with gua sha stone while a podcast plays in the background, strapping on a Skims compression face wrap that makes you look like the chicest bank robber in Beverly Hills. The hum of your LED face mask fills the room while your phone camera is propped up on the nightstand, ready to capture the entire routine for TikTok. Beauty sleep in this era isn't about sleep at all. It's an all-out morning production, designed as much for an audience as for yourself. And that's the heart of today's question. Has beauty sleep ever really been about rest? Or has it always been about control? About sculpting, preserving, and perfecting an image, whether for the gaze of society, the silver screen, or the scrolling eyes of social media. Over the past century, the idea of beauty sleep has shifted and stretched, sometimes functioning as a gentle self-care ritual, other times as a nightly performance of discipline and aspiration. In this video, we're taking a journey decade by decade through the 20th century, watching the evolution of bedtime beauty rituals from the Edwardian cotton nightgown to the silk peignoir sets of the 50s, from avocado masks in the 70s, to the retin-A craze of the 1990s. Along the way, we'll see how cultural ideals, economic changes, and celebrity influence shaped what women did in the privacy of their bedrooms. We'll meet silent film stars who made rest a moral virtue, flappers who went to bed in silk slips, wartime women who turned to petroleum jelly when luxury creams ran out, and suburban housewives who set their hair in curlers under nylon bonnets before slipping into chiffon robes. And finally, we'll arrive in the present day, where beauty sleep has transformed into a hyper-optimized, camera-ready production, complete with ice baths for your face, lymphatic drainage massages before breakfast, and compression wraps worn not just for their function, but for their aesthetic. This is the story of how a simple concept, rest as beauty, became a century-long experiment in reinvention. So let's get into it. Chapter 1, 1900s to 1910s, Beauty Sleep as Social Duty. At the dawn of the 20th century, beauty sleep was far more than a quaint expression. It was a statement about your place in society. In the Edwardian imagination, rest was intertwined with morality, refinement, and above all class. A well-rested woman was a woman of privilege, her pale, smooth complexion announcing to the world that she was spared the hardships of labor. If you could afford to spend mornings in bed and afternoons at leisure, you were already halfway to meeting the beauty standards of the time. The roots of these ideals reach back into the Victorian health philosophies, which prize fresh air, proper rest, and moderation as the cornerstones of both beauty and moral character. Physicians and etiquette manuals alike championed the idea of the rest cure for women, extended periods of bed rest thought to restore both mental and physical health. Though often prescribed for dubious medical reasons, these enforced retreats reinforced the cultural link between rest and refinement. Even at home, women were encouraged to air their bedrooms out each evening, throwing open windows to let in the night air. which was believed to purify the lungs and improve complexion. The nightly routine was a quiet but deliberate ritual. Cleansing was the essential first step, usually with Pear soap, prized for its clarity and gentle lather. This was followed by a liberal application of Pond's cold cream, the era's reigning skincare product, which promised to soothe, cleanse, and nourish the skin. Some women preferred to make their own tonics, rosewater being the most popular, steeped at home from petals and distilled water, applied with a soft cloth for a final refreshing touch before bed. The bedroom environment itself was an extension of the beauty ideal. Illumination came from oil lamps or early electric sconces, their light softened by lace shades. Lace curtains filtered moonlight, and pillowcases were embroidered with initials or floral motifs, a detail that spoke as much to a woman's domestic skill as her aesthetic sensibilities. Beds were often high and layered with quilts, and a faint scent of lavender, sachets, or dried herbs might be tucked between the pillows, an olfactory luxury thought to promote better, more restorative sleep. Fashion, too, reflected the divide between public display and private comfort. By day, women endured the rigid architecture of the Edwardian S-curve corset, which thrust the bust forward and the hips back in the popular healthful silhouette. By night, these were replaced with high-neck cotton nightgowns, long, modest, and often trimmed with lace or ruffles. A bed jacket might be added for warmth during reading or correspondence before lights out. Hair, which was worn long and elaborately styled in public, was often unpinned and loosely braided before bed, tied with a silk ribbon to prevent tangling. Etiquette guides of the period emphasized that rest was not mere idleness, it was a discipline. Ladies' Home Journal, for example, published articles instructing women to retire at a proper hour and to avoid unseemly lateness, lest it disturb the natural rhythms of beauty. Magazines warned against late-night excitement. Too much laughter or dancing was thought to overstimulate the system and result in a flushed, blotchy complexion. Rest was thus framed not as indulgence, but as an obligation to one's appearance, and by extension to one's role as a wife, mother, and socialite. Pop culture of the 1900s and 1910s reinforced these ideals through emerging power of Hollywood. Silent film stars like Mary Pickford, known as America's Sweetheart, became beauty icons not for smoldering glamour, but for their youthful, wholesome appearance, skin smooth and eyes bright. The very picture of someone who slept long and well. Early beauty columns in movie magazines often shared rest secrets of the stars, which invariably echoed the advice of etiquette manuals: fresh air, early nights, and a commitment to regular hours. In these decades, beauty sleep was not yet about gadgets, exotic dreams, or elaborate routines. It was a quiet, nightly affirmation of status, self-control, and propriety. To sleep well and to look like you had rest was to broadcast to the world that you were a woman of means, discipline, and moral standing. It was beauty not just in the skin, but in the performance of a role society demanded you to play. Chapter 2, 1920s Jazz Age Glamour in the Boudoir. It's the height of the Jazz Age. You've left a smoky speakeasy where the sound of clinking cocktail glasses mingled with the brassy wail of a trumpet. Your cheeks are still warm from dancing the Charleston, your bobbed hair sleek under the low brim of a cloche hat. Outside, the street lamps throw long shadows over the pavement. By the time you reach your apartment, the world has quieted. You step inside, the faint scent of cigarette smoke and perfume still clinging to your beaded dress, and you head straight for the boudoir. Your bedroom, like a wardrobe, reflects the modern spirit. Streamlined yet glamorous, a mirrored vanity holds cut glass jars of face cream, a dish of jeweled hairpins, and a silver perfume bottle of Coty L'Origine perfume, which you sometimes miss lightly over your bedsheets. Tonight, you slip out of your dress into a bias-cut silk slip the color of champagne. Its smooth fabric clings to your figure, the lace neckline catching the lamplight. Just a decade ago, high-necked cotton nightgowns were the norm. Now, women embrace slinky silks and satins in pastel shades like blush pink, pale mint, and ice blue, often trimmed with Art Deco embroidery that matches the modernist designs of their homes. The transformation from flapper to sleeping beauty begins with skincare. Beauty advice columns tout the benefits of cleansing thoroughly after a night out, especially if rouge and powder have been applied generously. Many women swear by Elena Rubinstein's night cream Valaz, marketed as the world's first night cream, promising to nourish and revitalize the skin while you sleep. Others prefer cold cream to remove makeup, followed by a homemade treatment, perhaps an egg white mask to tighten pores or cucumber slices laid over closed eyes to banish signs of fatigue. Magazines encourage these DIY rituals as an inexpensive way to maintain a freshful and youthful appearance, and many women enjoy the sense of experimentation that comes with mixing their own remedies in the kitchen. Not all beauty sleep aids are gentle. The 1920s saw the rise of early cosmetic gadgets, some of which would look downright alarming today. Among them were elastic face straps, thin, flesh-colored bands worn around the chin and over the head, designed to hold the skin taut overnight and prevent sagging. These contraptions promised to fight the early signs of wrinkles, though they were uncomfortable and often left telltale lines in the morning. Still, the willingness to endure minor discomfort for beauty was nothing new, just another sign that women were taking control of their image in a modern age. Hair care was another crucial part of the nightly routine. The sleek, glossy Marcel wave was the hairstyle choice, made famous by stars like Clara Bow and Louise Brooks. To preserve the sculpted waves, women often slept on silk or satin pillowcases, which reduced friction and helped maintain shine. Some even wrapped their hair in silk scarves or turban-style wraps to keep every curl in place until morning. Pop culture during the 1920s was driven by the magnetism of film stars, whose looks were studied and emulated in detail. Clara Bow, with her Cupid's bow lips and wide expressive eyes, became the decade's undisputed it girl, inspiring everything from lipstick shades to eyebrow styles. Louise Brooks, with her sharp black bob, embodied a new kind of independent woman, sophisticated, self-assured, and just a little mysterious. Their influence was everywhere, on magazine covers, in beauty ads, and even in the way women approached their bedtime routines. Going to bed beautiful was no longer just about waking up rested. It was about preserving the night's glamour, as if every evening were the continuation of a performance. By the close of the decade, beauty sleep had transformed from a passive state into a curated ritual, one that merged indulgence with the technological optimism of the era. Whether it was misting the bed with perfume, applying a nourishing cream, or strapping on an elastic band in the name of youth, the flapper generation embraced bedtime as another stage for self-expression. And as with the speakeasies they frequented, there was a thrill in knowing that behind closed doors, beauty could be both a secret pleasure and a declaration of independence. Chapter 3, the 1930s to 1940s, Hollywood dreams and wartime pragmatism. The 1930s may have been an era of economic hardship for most of the world. But in the darkened movie palaces of Hollywood, glamour burned brighter than ever. Imagine sitting before a vanity bathed in the warm evening glow of round frosted bulbs, the kind that flanked the mirrors in a starlet's dressing room. Your reflection is framed by light, every angle softened, every shadow flattering. The surface of the vanity gleams with an orderly arrangement of powders, creams, and perfumes, each in glass jars or enamel tins with elegant gold lettering. You dab your fingers into Elizabeth Arden's Orange Skin Food, a rich vitamin-infused cream marketed to restore vitality and awaken the complexion while you sleep, next to a lit jar of Dorothy Gray's night cream, which promises overnight magic, the packaging suggesting that true beauty is something cultivated as much in dreams as in daylight. Hair in this era was a nightly project unto itself. Marcel wave sculpted, glossy, and possibly precise, was still a standard of elegance, so women went to great lengths to preserve it between salon visits. After applying setting lotion, hair was clipped into place with metal wave clips, then covered with a satin turban or wrapped in a chiffon scarf to prevent frizz and flattening. For those with longer styles, pin curls were meticulously arranged, sometimes secured with bobby pins that would leave a halo of gentle waves in the morning. But the fantasy of Hollywood dressing tables existed alongside the realities of the Great Depression. While the cinema offered escapism, many women learned to achieve glamour on a budget, thrifting beauty products, refilling jars with homemade creams, or stretching a single lipstick to last months. Beauty sleep was marketed as a kind of affordable luxury. After all, a night's rest cost nothing but discipline. As the 1940s arrived, the outbreak of World War II transformed every aspect of daily life, including beauty routines. Luxury imports became scarce, and many cosmetic ingredients were redirected towards the war effort. Women adapted with remarkable ingenuity. Petroleum jelly became the ultimate multitasker, applied to lips, cuticles, elbows, and even as a nighttime face moisturizer. Perfume, if worn at all, was reserved for special occasions. Instead, women might tuck lavender sachets into their pillowcases for a gentle scent at bedtime. Hair care adapted to the shortages as well. With silk and nylon rationed, women repurposed worn-out stockings as hair wraps, tying them snugly to keep curls in place overnight. Setting lotion could be homemade, using sugar water and diluted lemon juice. Though these makeshift solutions came with their own quirks, lemon juice, for instance, could lighten hair if left on too long. Despite the austerity, the 1940s were also the golden age of the pinup, and nightly beauty routines were influenced by the high-gloss images of women like Rita Hayworth, Betty Grable, and Veronica Lake. Rita Hayworth in particular became famous for her hair, which was said to have been brushed 100 strokes each night before bed to maintain its legendary shine. She reportedly slept on a satin pillowcase to prevent breakage, a simple tip that spread quickly through beauty columns and women's magazines. Pinup culture also encouraged a more performative approach to beauty sleep. Even during wartime, there was an underlying message that keeping up one's appearance was part of the morale, both personal and collective. The idea that beauty could be an act of resilience, a way of holding on to normalcy in turbulent times, made nightly rituals feel almost patriotic. By the close of the 1940s, beauty sleep had two phases: the luminous fantasy of Hollywood, where starlets reclined on chaise lounges and silk robes, and the everyday reality of women making do with what they have and thrifting. Whether it was a jar of imported cream on a mirrored vanity or a dab of Vaseline before bed, the goal remained the same: to wake up looking rested, radiant, and ready to face the world, whatever it might hold. And Chapter 4, 1950s to 1960s, the high point of the nighttime beauty ritual. By the 50s, the bedroom vanity had reached its peak as a personal temple of beauty. In a suburban home, the wife might close the bedroom door at night and enter a space entirely her own, where domestic duties paused and glamour took center stage. Picture it: a padded stool pulled up to the gleaming vanity draped with a lace runner, flanked by lamps with pleated shades casting a warm, flattering light. On the surface, there's a pink bake-like comb, crystal jars filled with cotton balls and powder puffs, a bottle of cuticle oil, or perhaps a quilted satin tissue box cover in pastel pink or baby blue. A mirrored tray might hold perfume bottles with faceted stoppers, their scents floral, powdery, and unmistakably feminine, lingering in the air. Sleepwear in this era was designed with the philosophy that a woman should look beautiful at every hour of the day, even when she was alone or with her husband. Christian Dior and Vanity Fair produced chiffon peignoir sets, so ethereal that they seemed spun from clouds, often in delicate shades of shell pink, lavender, or icy mint. The ropes floated over matching bias-cut slips, the fabric catching the lamplight as the wearer moved. Many women paired them with quilted mules or feather-trimmed slippers, bedroom shoes that made even a trip to fetch a glass of water look like a scene from a Doris Day film. The nightly beauty ritual was elaborate, almost theatrical. Cold cream cleansing still reigned as the foundation of skincare, but now was accompanied by a growing array of specialized products, each promising scientific breakthroughs in the battle against time. Max Factor's night serum promised to restore the skin's youthful texture while you slept, while Estee Lauder's Youth Dew bath oil, introduced in 1953, doubled as a fragrance and a skin-softening bath soak, luxury you could indulge in before the beginning of your cream and powder routine. For hands, there were sleeping gloves, soft cotton or nylon gloves worn over thick applications of hand cream to ensure waking up with movie star softness, and then there were night bras designed to keep the bust lifted and perky even while lying down, a concept that seems absurd today, but was marketed with absolute seriousness at the time. Hair care at bedtime was a production in itself. The era's voluminous bouffants, smooth flips, and set curls didn't just happen in the morning. They were built overnight. Women wound their hair into a sponge curlers or plastic rollers, securing them with metal clips. To protect the style, they slipped on nylon caps or tied their hair in a silk scarf. For the especially dedicated, there were elastic chin straps, tight bands worn under the chin and around the top of the head, intended to keep the jawline firm and the skin taut while sleeping. Bonnet-style hair dryers allowed for setting hair at home without a salon visit. though using one before bed was not the most relaxing pre-sleep activity. Advertising in the 50s and early 60s framed these rituals as both a duty and a delight. Magazine spreads and television commercials promised that you'd wake up lovelier if you followed the night steps. The implication was clear: beauty was a 24-hour commitment, and sleep was simply another phase of the process. It was a message reinforced by pop culture. On I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball appeared in rollers and a silk robe, turning the private, often unglamorous bedtime ritual into a moment of comedic visibility. Films starring Doris Day often included scenes of her in pastel sleepwear, hair perfectly set, suggesting that even at rest, a woman's appearance should be charming and carefully maintained. The 1960s continued this devotion to bedtime beauty but added a touch of modern sleekness. Packaging became more streamlined, scents lighter, and routines slightly less fussy, reflecting the indulgence of fashion icons like Jackie Kennedy and Audrey Hepburn. Yet the core message remained: a woman's appearance in the morning was directly linked to the work she put in at night. As one 1960s beauty ad famously put it, "Tomorrow's beauty begins tonight." By the end of the 1960s, the elaborate evening prep had become an ingrained habit for many women. It was not simply about removing makeup or washing the day away. It was about reaffirming femininity, preserving youth, and keeping up with the polished image expected by both self and society. Beauty sleep in these decades wasn't passive. It was a highly curated performance that played out in the quiet hours, behind closed doors, with a woman as both the star and the audience. Chapter 5: The 1970s to the 1990s. From minimalist to high tech, the 1970s marked a dramatic shift in the philosophy of beauty sleep. After decades of structure, product-heavy bedtime rituals, the pendulum swung towards naturalism, driven in part by the counterculture movements of the late 60s. The hippie ethos of harmony in nature seeped into the bedroom, influencing how women approach nighttime self-care. Gone were the rigid peignoir sets and overnight hair contraptions. In their place, loose cotton caftans or soft worn-in t-shirts. Bedrooms smelled not of powdery perfume, but of sandalwood, incense, or lavender sachets. The focus was less on preserving a fixed image and more on nourishing the body and soul. Many women turned to natural oils and olive as all-purpose moisturizers, massaging them into the skin before bed. DIY beauty flourished. Avocado mask for moisture, yogurt and honey blends for gentle exfoliation, and aloe vera gel scraped straight from the leaf for soothing sun-worn skin. Nighttime rituals often extended beyond skincare to lifestyle. Herbal teas like chamomile or valerian root were sipped to encourage restful sleep, and soft meditation music or wind chime recordings might replace the blare of a bedtime alarm clock. The bedtime environment became an extension of wellness culture: plants on the nightstand, macrame wall hangings, and open windows for fresh air. By the late 1970s, this natural approach had begun to merge with a growing beauty industry interest in pure products. Aveda, founded in 1978, blended these principles with modern skincare, while The Body Shop, which opened its first US store in 1980, made natural ingredient lists and eco-friendly packaging part of the consumer conversation. These brands promised that beauty could be ethical, natural, and effective, a blend that appealed to women seeking both results and a clear conscience. The 1980s, however, brought an entirely different energy. Fitness culture boomed, corporate ambition was celebrated, and beauty became increasingly tied to performance and discipline. The concept of overnight repair exploded in advertising, suggested that sleep could be harnessed as a productive window for skin transformation. Skincare became more scientific in tone, while active ingredients taking center stage. Retin-A, originally prescribed for acne, was embraced as a powerful anti-aging tool, capable of smoothing fine lines and improving skin texture. Alpha-hydroxy acids promised to exfoliate and renew the skin's surface, while collagen creams claimed to plump and firm overnight. Product packaging leaned into the clinical aesthetic, with white lab-style jars and technical-sounding names. The language of bedtime beauty shifted from pampering to treatment, framing nighttime routines as an investment in long-term results. The sheer number of specialized products grew rapidly. Women might apply an AHA serum, follow with a collagen night cream, dab on an eye specific formula, and seal everything in with a moisture-locking mask. The bedtime ritual was once again layered, but now it was driven by science and results rather than chiffon and romance. By the 1990s, the beauty industry had reached new heights of sophistication and global influence. Night routines became a mix of cutting-edge skincare and luxury indulgence. Vitamin C serums promised to brighten and protect the skin while fighting free radical damage during the night. Oxygen facials, once reserved for celebrities, were becoming more widely known, their promise of breathing life into skin aligning with the decade's obsession with freshness and youth. Sleep itself took on a new branding twist. The power nap entered the cultural lexicon, blurring the line between rest and productivity. Articles advised that short bursts of sleep could enhance alertness, creativity, and naturally skin quality. In the same way women in the 1950s were told that they could wake up lovelier, women in the 90s were told they could wake up sharper, younger, and ready to conquer. Pop culture played a huge role in defining these new beauty ideals. Madonna, at the height of her fame, was known for her rigorous approach to skincare, reportedly sleeping in an oxygen tent, booking regular facials, and using an arsenal of serums. Her image in magazines showed skin so luminous it seemed almost impossible, setting a new standard for perfectionism. The supermodel era, led by Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell, and Linda Evangelista, only intensified the pressure. These women, photographed in the morning looking flawless, fed the fantasy that beauty was an around-the-clock job. By the close of the 1990s, the idea of beauty sleep had evolved into something far more complex than its early 20th century origins. It was no longer a passive state of rest, but a curated strategic process. Whether you're massaging in natural oils under the warm glow of a salt lamp in 1975 or layering a cocktail of anti-aging serums in 1995, the goal was the same: to transform the hours between dusk and dawn into an invisible but vital part of the beauty workday. Chapter 6, 2020's TikTok's morning shed routines and Skims face wraps. In the 2020s, beauty sleep has shed its old-fashioned image of languid rest under lavender-scented sheets. Now it's part of the relentless 24-hour cycle of self-maintenance, curated, performed, and broadcast in real time. TikTok and Instagram are flooded with the morning shed routine, a step-by-step production that blends century-old beauty tricks with high-tech gadgets, all served in slick 30-second videos. A typical morning shed clip doesn't begin with coffee. It starts with a close-up of bare skin, slightly puffy and flushed, framed by a silk pillowcase. Step 1, ice rolling. A stainless steel quartz roller, chilled in a skincare fridge, glides over the jawline, cheeks, and under eyes to banish puffiness. Step 2, gua sha, the ancient Chinese sculpting technique now turned viral beauty staple, scraping along the contours of the face to create a sharper jawline on camera. Then comes the lymphatic drainage massage, fingers sweeping along the neck and temples in patterns learned from esthetician tutorials. For the ambitious, there's face taping, either with thin adhesive strips to train the skin or with elastic kinesiology tape to lock muscles in place. And for those craving sci-fi drama, LED masks, red for collagen stimulation, blue for acne, amber for glow, bathe the face in an eerie light. And then there's the piece de resistance, Kim Kardashian's skim compression face wrap. At first glance, it looks like minimalist athleisure for your skull, a soft beige sling of elastic fabric, snugly wrapping the chin and cheeks. It's meant to be worn overnight or the early morning to contour the face, reduce swelling, and preserve a perfect jawline. The marketing is pure Kardashian minimalism. Kim lounging in monochrome bedding, her makeup already flawless, the wrap holding her face in place like a priceless artifact. It's a surreal image, one that makes you think of Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. The way his face turned the human head into something almost sculptural and clinical. Or perhaps it's closer to Death Becomes Her, where the eternal beauty comes at the cost of the increasingly absurd maintenance. Because that's what the Skims wrap feels like, a prop from a glamorous, slightly unhinged beauty satire that just happens to be real life. The psychology here is a far cry from the early 20th century notion of beauty sleep, when the goal was to appear naturally well rested, as if beauty were an effortless byproduct of a refined life. Then the work happened behind closed doors, if it happened at all. Now the process is the performance. You're not just trying to look good, you're showing the world you're doing the work to look good. This speaks to the 24/7 beauty economy, where rest isn't rest, it's an optimization window. Sleep tracking apps, overnight hair masks, smart pillows, and now compression wraps all promise results while you dream. The language has shifted to maximize, boost, sculpt, have replaced pamper and restore. It's beauty as productivity. There are wins in this evolution. Techniques once preserved for celebrities, like lymphatic drainage, are now widely accessible. The tools are more sophisticated and some genuinely deliver results. You can DIY a spa-level morning with nothing more than a face roller or a gua sha tool and an LED mask. But something is missing. The quiet intimacy of beauty sleep, the sense that simply resting could be restorative, has been replaced by a kind of beauty hustle. A woman in 1910 might have gone to bed with rose water on her pillow and woken up refreshed without thinking much more about it. In 2025, she wakes up to the checklist before she's even had water. Ice roll, gua sha, tape, mask, wrap. The boudoir has become a broadcast set. And pop culture fuels this cycle. Influencers, celebrities, and dermatologist TikTok stars share their bedtime and morning routines, with affiliate links turning private rituals into shopping moments. The Skims face wrap is more than a product. It's a perfect metaphor for this era. Beauty held in place, monitored, displayed, and sold back to us as a lifestyle necessity. In the 2020s, beauty sleep hasn't disappeared. It's just become something you can't do without documenting it. The magic is still there, but now it's engineered, commodified, and dressed in beige elastic. Over the last century, beauty sleep has evolved from a quiet marker of class to a public-facing self-optimization ritual. In the early 1900s, it was about refinement and leisure, a modest nightgown, cool, fresh air, and the scent of rosewater on a pillow. By the 1920s, silk slips and night creams extended the glamour of the dance floor into the bedroom. The 1930s and 40s brought a blend of Hollywood fantasy and wartime pragmatism, while the 50s and 60s turned bedtime into a full production of chiffon robes, curlers, and creams. The 70s embraced natural minimalism, avocado masks, and caftans, only for the 80s and 90s to reframe sleep as a productivity window filled with serums, acids, and collagen creams. And in the 2020s, beauty sleep has gone fully public, with TikTok routines and products like Skims face wraps transforming private rituals into performative content. Though each era, beauty sleep has reflected the pressures of its time, whether maintaining moral respectability, surviving wartime austerity, projecting mid-century perfection, or living up to the endless scroll of social media. Which leaves us with the question, is beauty sleep still about restoring ourselves, or have we turned it into another way to relentlessly edit ourselves? The answer might lie somewhere between the silk pillowcase and the compression wrap, between the quiet privacy of the past and the curated reality of the present. So let me know in the comments below. I mean, it is weird to think about just sleep over the last 100 years. I mean, I am all about like my nighttime ritual and kind of have like the things that I do that kind of help me get settled in. I'm curious in the comments below what your thoughts are on all this in terms of like your nighttime ritual and beauty sleep, and do you believe in beauty sleep? I mean, I'm all for it, and then like all my creams and everything I do. So I'm so curious. It's interesting to go back in time, and I just kind of like got inspired by that whole new Skims face mask thing. So anyways, let me know in the comments below, have you tried the Skims face mask as well? I'm curious about that. Anyways, thanks for watching.